What is up, guys? Today we're going to be working on the 350Z. We came out here to my dad's house where I keep it stored since I don't have room at my house to keep it. So since the last event that Wendy was at, we noticed that it wasn't running properly and that we had to change out a couple things. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to be changing out the throttle body gasket, which I'm pretty sure is leaking since I removed it last time and didn't change the gasket out. It's a metal gasket, so it's just one of those things that once you remove it, you have to replace it, or else the car's just going to run like crud. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to change out the water that's in the cooling system to just, again, regular water. We're going to add some water wetter into it so that when we go to the racetrack, we don't have coolant spraying all over the place in case of cooling system failure or something. And then another thing we're going to change out is the spark plugs, because the last time we changed them out, my dad still owned the car, and that was like maybe a year or two ago, and we've already had maybe 4 or 5 events with the same spark plugs, and I think it's about time to change them out. So we're going to go to auto parts store and get some stuff. Hold on. All right, go ahead. Keep going. A little bit more. That should be good. Alright guys, so we're going to be swapping out the gasket right in here in between the throttle body and the intake manifold. And we're also going to be changing out the spark plugs. All 6 of them, 3 on each side. Probably remove this, the intake tube. This may not have to come out, but I mean, whatever. So a lot of people always want to start drifting, and they always ask what it is you need to drift. And honestly, all you need is a rear-wheel drive car with a manual transmission. I know you can do it on the new DTCs or whatever they're called, but manual is always, you know, just better for this kind of stuff. Unless you want to go sequential, then that's just a ton more money. But to get started, a rear-wheel drive car, preferably manual. You're going to want to weld your diff if it doesn't already have a limited slip on it. And as for power outers and suspension, you really don't need anything more than just what the car comes with. When we first got this car, we actually bought it from my dad, completely stock, blown shocks, blown bushings, stock engine, stock transmission, stock everything else. And the only thing I did was I removed the differential, cracked it open, and I welded the VLSD together. And that's all I did. I took it out to our first event and completely stock, and it did great. It did amazing. All it needed was me to get more confident with the car and get better with it. I also removed the whole traction control system by removing the fuse on it. And other than that, that's all it needed. Like now, cut back to a year or so now that I've had the car for a little while, and we did install BC Racing coilovers. I think you can have, I have a video of the installation of that. I installed camber arms so that I can adjust the camber in the rear. And other than that, I got better tires. I made this bash bar myself. I added used racing seats. These harnesses, I've had them before. They were from my old Miata. Fire extinguisher, because you know, you're doing hood rat things with your friends. You want to make sure you have a way to put out a fire in case it comes to that. And then we also have this half cage, which is something that me and my brother made from scratch ourselves in his front yard. So I mean, honestly, the car's completely stock except for suspension and, you know, the safety equipment. We added that duckbill spoiler and that's it. Everything else is stock 100%, except for, like I said, the coilovers and the rear camber arms, or lower control arms, I believe is what we changed out. But yeah, you don't need anything. You don't need anything extravagant. I know there's YouTubers out there that, you know, spend $20, $30, $40,000 on their drift cars with 700, 800 horsepower engines, but you don't need all that. You don't need all that unless you're actually going to compete. And as of now, I'm not trying to compete. I'm just trying to go out there and have some fun. So a stock engine is all I need. All right, let's start off by disconnecting the battery. Move it over to the side. Put the cover back on. Gotta remove the intake. Okay, disconnect the door hose. Connect to the bottom of the intake. Loosen it up, move that away. And then take your strip off. I'll blow the hose off. Alright, so now the throttle body has Allen keys, 4 of them, 1 on each corner. We're going to have to disconnect the throttle body from there. And if we do disconnect it though, I believe we're going to have to relearn it. So, I mean, we're going to have to do that too, so might as well go for it, right? So the throttle body is going to be a size 5. So here's the old gasket that I had already removed once, and like I said, it's metal. So what happens with these things is that they have a little lip here that is supposed to compress when you tighten it down, and once that lip is gone, it won't seal the same again unless you replace it. So the problem was that since I didn't replace it the first time, we ended up getting an air leak in the system and a check engine light for lean mixture or something like that. So now we have a new one to change it out with. But before we do that, since the throttle body is out of the way right now, I think I'm just going to go ahead and change out the all 3 spark plugs on this side and make sure that all of them are good to go. And the cool thing about spark plugs is that when you pull them out, you can actually see, like, they kind of tell you the story of your engine and how well it's running by the way that the spark plugs have been burning. So always make sure you check them for like any oil or any like weird burn. I mean, you'll see when I pull them out, and I'm sure if you've already done it to your car, you know, you'll see that the difference between a good burn and a bad burn on a spark plug. Okay, so now that you somewhat cleaned around your coil packs, you're gonna get a 10mm with an extension and start popping the coil packs off. One, and I think I'm just gonna do them one by one because I don't want to mix them up. I mean, you can't mix them up really, just, you know, put them in a certain order wherever you want, but I'm just gonna do one by one so I can see exactly what's going on with each and every spark plug that I pull out. This is actually a pretty normal spark plug. That slight brownish color is really good. It looks like the little center piece is a little worn out, so it's causing a bigger gap between the this little prong up here. So we're just going to change them out. Like I said, they've probably been in the car for about 2 or 3 years, and that was while my dad was driving it. Now that I have it, I've had the car for about 2 years also, so they've been in there for maybe 4 or 5 years already. So it's time to change them out. So here's a brand new one. See, the gap is a lot less than on this old one. And I know you can just smack the top of this thing and fix the gap or whatever, but like I said, it's been years since it was changed out, so I'm just going to change them out just for good measure. They're really cheap, 15 bucks each, you know, NGKs, supposedly original equipment. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to change them out, peace of mind that they're brand new, and then we can have another, you know, year's worth of track days and just beat the crap out of this engine, and it should be happy. We're also going to add just the tiniest amount of anti-seize to the threads. this one back here is really going to be the only different one, because we had a couple things that we need to move. We got this plug, unplug that bad boy, and then we need to somehow pop this guy off. Or you know what? I think there's a 10mm back there that we can pop off. It should come right off. Alright, so that wasn't as bad as I thought. Like I said, we removed the 10mm bolt from here, pulled this out, moved it out of the way. It gave us access to our spark plug and our coil back here. And it wasn't too bad. Just pop it back in. Push it all the way down. Our coil bolt back in there. Now we plug our coil back in. And there it is. This is the 10mm that we pulled out from down there. It's just a bracket that attaches to the valve cover. You don't want that too tight because it is attached to the valve cover, and the valve covers on these cars are plastic. Believe me, you don't want to crack one of those, because then you're going to have to put a lot of work into taking that thing off and replacing it. So just double check, make sure you popped everything back in place where it's supposed to go. And now on to the other side. So right away, this one looks a lot more involved. Looks like we're gonna have to be moving some wiring harnesses around, maybe bolting or unbolting some stuff. I know that there's a way to simplify this. I'm gonna have to look it up so that we can do it to this car. I think there's a way to simplify this. I believe I think it's a fuel line. So we're gonna see if we can figure out how to get rid of all this stuff, make it look cleaner. And yeah, man, but other than that, let's see what we can do about the spark plugs. Alright, so first things first, we're gonna move this hose out of the way. The more room you can make for yourself, the easier it is. If you try to cut corners, you're just gonna make the job go a lot slower than it should. So whatever you can, just either remove it completely or just get it out of the way, you know. A lot of things like this fuel line, I really don't want to move out of the way. It can stay there, but I'll probably undo all the little bolts and whatnot that go to this wiring harness, get that out of the way, and it'll give me more clearance. See, there's a piece right here that we can pull off, and looks like this hose can come off for the PVC. Just be careful not to break it. looks like we can reach most everything now. Alright, so now that we have everything put back together on this side, reconnect anything you disconnected. Pop your PCV piece back together. And that's it, really. I mean, you know, spark plugs aren't that hard on these cars. It's just, like I said, having to remove things and remembering where it goes, and especially if you're like one of those people that just doesn't want to deal with the headache. It's a lot better to learn to do it rather than taking it to a shop and getting charged a bunch of money, you know? It took me, what, maybe 15-20 minutes to do the spark plugs. And now I'm going to move on to the throttle body. So getting back to the throttle body, like I said, the gasket is metal. It's a one-time use gasket, and so we got this one directly from Nissan. It was like $10 or $11, and I don't know if you can see on the video, but it has this little round ring around it all the way around, and it's raised surface, so it's pretty much meant to seal once you put everything together and you tighten it down. And so it's a one-time use. Once it's tight, it's good, and you shouldn't remove it again unless you're going to replace the actual gasket. Now, I've seen a lot of people use the old gaskets and just put silicone on there, but I don't like that. For some reason, to me, that just doesn't seem right, you know? So I'm gonna use the original gasket from the manufacturer like it's supposed to be used, without any silicone or anything like that. So let's get this bad boy in. Okay, so all we're gonna do is we're gonna take off the tape that we used to protect it. And then we're going to throw it on there, make sure it's going to go on the right way. Okay, so it looks like it's going to go like that. So like this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on here like this. Grab one of these and see if it holds itself up like so. Then put the other one on like that, and then just start up the first top ones, that way it holds the gasket in place. And then we take the two lower bolts and gently put them in there, and hand tighten those also to make sure that the gasket is aligned with all the bolt holes so we don't ruin it. You take your Allen key and tighten these bad boys down. And there it is. Throttle body installed, new spark plugs, and now we're ready for the next event. All we gotta do now is put our intake back on, plug everything up, change out our filter, and we're good to go.